now during that 2020 period, while the stores were closed, had time to think. And I'm like, I want to add something to the menu. And I added something that most people wouldn't expect to be in an ice cream parlor.
Welcome back to the Let's Evolve for Tomorrow podcast. I'm your host, Tyrone, and we help aspiring new and existing entrepreneurs excel to the next level by inviting other aspiring new and existing entrepreneurs to the podcast to share knowledge and information on how to get to the next level. So without further ado, we have Rashad Mosley with us. This guy has opened multiple businesses across the globe. Oh, I shouldn't say across the globe, but across the city. I thought it was actually a franchise, but coming to find out, this guy actually built his businesses from the ground up. Photography business, stock trading, investment. I mean, the list goes on. But I don't want to steal his thunder. I don't want to steal his shine. We're going to jump right into it. Rashad, how you doing, man?
What's going on, my man?
Man, I appreciate you for joining me.
I appreciate you having me here, man.
You. So if you don't mind, man, just give us an introduction and your background and go from there.
Yeah, my name's Rashad Mosley. First off, I'm a God-fearing man, husband, father to six. But besides that, the reason I'm here is I have multiple business. I'm a business owner, entrepreneur. I have a photography business. I had a retail store called Ice Cream Rollery. We had a few locations. And then also my primary source of income is from trading options. And then I recently opened up a business where I actually have an online course and I show people how to do so. And then also they're able to follow my trades if they want to, make money with me.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you named 3 different businesses, right?
3 different businesses.
Okay.
Yep.
So what was the very first one?
Very first one, photography, vision and style photography.
Okay.
Hey, if you guys are in the Columbus area, holler at me. But yeah, we shoot weddings, portraits, families, seniors, maternity, fitness. We shoot events, and that's across the nation. I was just in Houston last week, shooting for a corporate event. Nice. I've shot for multiple multi-billion-dollar companies. And that business has been a blessing. That was my baby. That was my first one.
Okay.
So it's a multiple 6-figure a year business for me.
Okay.
Where I don't have any employees. It's just me. My wife does. My wife is a second shooter for me when we do some weddings. But other than that, I just rely on myself, and it treats me very well.
Nice. So what year did you start this business?
2013.
2013. So yeah. 3 businesses. Photography's the baby. So it's video and photo, right?
No, but just photo. Just focus on photo.
Just photo. Okay.
Yep.
So how did you even get into photography?
So my wife, she actually, while we were still in the dating phase, she had always mentioned she was very interested in photography.
Okay.
And so I'm like, you know what? Being the slick guy that I am, I was like, you know what? I'm a surprise her one Christmas, and I'm gonna get a professional camera.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that's supposed to mean. But I started doing my research on, what cameras were nice out at the time, and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, stuff actually sounds pretty interesting, But then I end up buying it for Christmas, and she loved the gift. But I ended up using it way more than she did. For her, it was just collecting a little bit of dust, to be honest. But I started using it more than she did, and it became. I was like, you know what, I could probably turn this into a business, And so, fast forward, it went from just being something that my wife said she was interested in to now being 6-figure business for us. So it's definitely been a blessing.
Okay, so what was your very first job?
With the photography?
Yeah, how did you get the job? How did you approach it?
So to start out, I was posting on Facebook, social media.
Uh-huh.
And then also I was posting on Craigslist,
Really?
I was posting ain't no shame in my game, man. I was posting on Craigslist, and at that time, because we was just starting, my prices were what people who search on Craigslist would be looking for, So I was probably like $50, $60 for a whole shoot,
Wow.
And people on Craigslist are like, bet,
right?
All right, well, let's do it. So
I wouldn't pay for it.
Yeah, it's $50. What can you lose? Like, even if you get one picture you like, you're good,
right.
But so that's how we started. First, start off getting clients, and You know, my prices are very different from those Craigslist prices now. So.
Okay. Well, I'm sure. I mean, you've been at it for over 5 years, so right?
Well, no, 2013 is when we started.
2013.
So yeah, we're almost at 11 years.
Oh wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
over a decade.
over a decade. Yeah.
Okay. So what year did you start making money from your business, from the photography business?
It took about. It was just over a year for me to become profitable.
Okay.
So, you know, I initially bought all the camera equipment and everything I think I needed, and then was doing all these shoots, you know, charging $50 for them. So it took a little while. You know, maybe had I hiked the price up a little bit more, it'd have been quicker. But yeah, just over a year became profitable, and yeah, haven't looked back since.
Okay. So you got the photography business. When I think of 5 years, I'm thinking about ice cream rollery. So
Ice cream roll, yep.
okay. So you have the photography business. That's 2008, right?
2013.
13. All right. So 2013. How did you? So what was next? Was it the stock trading or was it ice cream rollery?
Next was ice cream rollery.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how did you even transition into that?
Yeah, so most of my business just came off of a whim, really. So with the ice cream rollery, my wife and I, we went to Puerto Rico in 2017.
Okay.
And we took a little tour, and while we were on this tour bus, we saw a sign in front of a store that said Road Ice Cream. Ooh. And anybody knows me, I have a sweet tooth like crazy. And I looked at it, I said, Road Ice Cream? Man, what the heck is that? You know? And so I ventured into the store, and they had this huge menu. So I just ordered something just to see. I wanted to see the process, because that's the whole thing about road ice cream. It's a process. You get to see it. It's exciting. You know, it's a lot different than just scooped ice cream you plop in a cup. But I placed my order, and I saw the process of how it was made. And literally while we were in that store, I was like, I'm going to start this business.
Right.
I'm going to start this business. So the first thing I did after I saw how exciting the process was is I pulled out my phone while we were still in the store, and I Googled to see Columbus, Ohio, road ice cream. I'm gonna see is anybody else doing this, because I'd never seen it before. You know, and at that time, you know, some people that became my competitors, so I'm not gonna mention any names. They didn't have a store open. They were just doing like pop-up shops. So there was no store for road ice cream in Columbus, Ohio at the time.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, bet we're gonna get started on this. So I literally had the logo made for the brand before we even got back home.
Wow.
While I was still in Puerto Rico.
Executed.
Yeah, you know, I had to execute. Now the wife, she wasn't too happy about me working while we were still on vacation, but you know, she likes it now.
Right, of course.
She likes it now. Yeah. So
Okay, so you went from ice cream rollery into stock trading, because I know you said you have all three.
Yes.
So what made you? Because I'm assuming ice cream rollery was a lucrative business, right?
yeah, it was a lucrative business. Yeah, I mean, between both stores, it was $1 million brand.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So we were open. We opened in January 2018.
Okay.
So that was when the first location opened.
Okay.
And then the second location ended up opening in May of 2020.
Okay.
We were supposed to open in March of 2020, but I'm assuming all the listeners know what was going on around March of 2020.
Right.
So we didn't open at that time, but the second one opened up in May of 2020. And yeah, between the two, it was $1 million business. You know, and because we were kind of unique, because we had the road ice cream, but then we also now during that 2020 period, while the stores were closed, had time to think, and I'm like, I want to add something to the menu, and I added something that most people wouldn't expect to be in an ice cream parlor, which was lobster rolls.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah. So I added lobster rolls, and it's crazy, and you know, this speaks to follow what God gives you.
Exactly.
Because he gives you the message and not anybody else. So when you go and ask that other person about your message that you received, they may not give you what you need to hear.
Exactly.
But with that being said, so I had just recently, I think late 2019, had my first lobster roll. I was actually in Baltimore, and I had a lobster roll for the first time. I was like, oh, this is super good. And while they were making it, I watched them, because it's in the back, but you could see. I was like, I'm watching them make it. I'm like, well, that's super simple. And so during the pandemic shutdown, I was thinking about what I could add to the menu. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do lobster rolls. I asked a few people, I said, hey, what do you think about me adding lobster rolls to ice cream rollery? First response was, are you stupid?
Because it's ice cream and you're adding a lobster.
Adding seafood to an ice cream place.
Right.
People fear what they've never seen.
Exactly.
Okay. I then asked another person, and they said, no, that's not a smart idea. So after the second no, I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. Because what's my worst case scenario? If this does not work out, then I just take it off the menu. That's like the worst thing that could happen. But because originally when I got those, I'll be honest, when I got those first two reactions, I was like, you know what? Okay, maybe I'll start a totally different business and get a totally different store and go through a totally different construction and go through all of that stuff and have to pay $100,000 for all of that.
Exactly.
Or I could just add it on to what I already have. All right. And so thankfully I went with that route. And, when we launched it, we would sell a few here and there.
Okay.
But it wasn't selling like crazy.
So was it just the lobster by itself, or was it like a combination of ice cream and lobster together?
So the lobster roll is by itself, but you could get like a combo. So you had your lobster roll as your meal, and then your ice cream as your dessert. Then it provided with a drink. So we had combos that included everything.
Okay. Well, see, I was thinking, I never tried it. I tried the rolled ice cream, which I loved it. I mean, just to your point, seeing the process.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that's pretty dope. It's different.
Yeah.
The roll of ice cream, and
It's an experience.
I mean, the experience, and you got a lot for your money, right? So I enjoyed that part of it. Never tried the lobster roll, but I was trying to imagine. I'm like, okay, well, do they take the ice cream and dump it on top of the lobster roll? Like, how do they?
Oh no, no, they're not intertwined.
Okay.
They're two totally separate little items.
Okay.
But it's funny because when we first launched it, kind of crickets with it.
Okay.
But then somebody from a popular radio station came in, and I didn't know who she was. I didn't find out until after, because she got her lobster roll.
Okay.
She clearly enjoyed it.
Okay.
And then she went on the radio station the very next day and talked it up.
Nice.
And then suddenly we had lines out the door for a span. I want to say it was for 3 straight months. From the time we opened to the time we closed, we had a line out the door for lobster rolls. And we were selling more lobster than seafood places.
Wow.
And we're an ice cream parlor.
Right, because it was something different.
It was different.
Yeah.
And it was you could see the marketing happening, because first thing you hear of when an ice cream place is selling seafood is like, stop, it can't be that good.
Exactly.
So their curiosity and them hearing other people like, oh no, you got to try it, it's good. They had to come try it, right? It was all the hype around it, and then they come try, and they're like, oh, this is actually good. And then you keep seeing the same circular thing happening. And so for a span of 3 months, from the time we opened to the close, we had a line out the door for lobster rolls. And during that 3-month period, we sold more lobster than we did ice cream.
Wow. Only because they couldn't imagine or believe that an ice cream parlor was selling lobster.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. That's smart, actually.
It's very smart. And now you got to think, had I listened to those 2 people that told me that I'm stupid,
Exactly.
it's like, well, now who's stupid?
Right. So you have this successful ice cream parlor, right?
Yeah.
How did you even get into stock trading? I mean, you're busy with photography. You're busy with the ice cream parlor. How did that come about?
Yep. So in 2020, during that time, everybody, the world was ending, quote unquote. So I had to shut down both ice cream parlors.
Okay.
I couldn't do any photo shoots.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And so essentially my income went to zero. I went from having this $1 million brand and the photography being 6-figure business to now zero. And for anybody who has a lease, they know during that time, landlords didn't care. Oh, times are tough. You're not getting any money? Okay, still send me mine. That was our attitude. And so during that time, I was sitting at home Googling, like, I need to find something. I have a wife. I have 6 kids. Yeah, I said 6. I have 6 kids, and I'm the man. I'm the provider, exactly. And I can't. This cycle can't continue on, because nobody knew when COVID was going to end, quote unquote. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I have to prepare like this is going on for another year, 2 years, 5 years. I have no idea.
Exactly.
All right. And so I just went on Google. I was trying to find ways where I could bring in income without having to rely on anybody or having to go at certain places that might be closed, etc. On this long list was options trading. And I looked at a list, I go, I've heard of it before. I've already been an investor. I was already an investor at the time, so I know about the stock market.
Okay.
I'm like, let me start learning about this. And so over the span of a little over a year, I started diving into it, losing money, making a little bit of money,
Right.
losing money, losing big, making money, and so, and throughout that process, I go, okay, let's settle down. I need to make my own process that is very repeatable and that works.
Exactly.
So during that time, I created my own personal process for trading options that has worked for me tremendously.
Okay.
And so I went from that period during COVID, not knowing where I was going to bring income in, to now that is my primary source of income. I bring in multiple six figures doing that. And then from that, I just recently launched a business where I can try to teach people how to do so as well.
Okay. So you went from photography, ice cream rollery that you built from the ground up,
Yep.
stock trading. So now let's kind of peel the layers back, right? Let's go back to some of those milestones and turning points before all of that started, before all of the success. Did you ever work for anybody, or have you always been an entrepreneur since you graduated? Did you go to college?
I did go to college.
Okay,
Yep.
so after graduating college, did you go into a job or straight into entrepreneurship?
Well, in college, I've always been a hustler.
Okay.
All right. So,
Okay.
I mean, I had businesses that were not official businesses, right? They weren't filed with the Secretary of State. But, yeah, so while I was in college, one thing I did is I sold used phones.
Okay.
And so what I would do is I would go on Craigslist. I would find somebody's used phone that they were selling. I talk them down, get it for cheap, and then I go on eBay and sell it for, like $100 markup. And so I did that all throughout college. And that's how I paid for my books and all everything else.
Wow.
But yeah, I actually went to school for physical therapy. Okay. So I went to a small school here in Columbus, and I graduated with my bachelor's degree in physical therapy. But after going through 4 years, to be a physical therapist, you need to have your doctorate. And so after going through the 4 years, I was like, I don't know about another 4 years of this. I don't know how I made it through the first 4, to be honest. But
Yeah, you made it.
Hey, I made it. Mama, I made it. But
So what year did you come up?
I graduated college in 2011.
Okay.
Class of 2011. Yep. So, but yeah, so I graduated there with my physical therapy degree, my bachelor's of physical therapy, and I was in the health field for a little while. Obviously not as a physical therapist because I needed a higher degree for that. But I was in the health field for a few more years after I graduated. But that wasn't the place to be.
Okay. So you were in the health field doing what?
So I actually worked at Children's Hospital, and I worked in their autism unit.
Okay.
So I was working with kids with autism. I was kind of in charge of making sure that the plan that the psychologists implemented for them the plan that the psychologists drew out for them was implemented both at home and at school, or in their life, to give them the most success.
Okay. So what was that thought process when you're like, okay, it's time to leave Children's and build my own thing? What was that thought process like? What hit you in that moment to actually make that change?
Yeah, so I'd already had the photography going while I was working at Children's.
Okay.
And the photography was doing very well for me.
Okay.
And it wasn't actually until I was about to open up Ice Cream Rollery that I said, okay, it's time to leave.
Oh, okay.
And I'm a firm believer that your job should be your first business partner.
Exactly.
You need to make sure to use that business partner for as long as you possibly can before you make a jump. Now, when should you make a jump? That's the golden question. I believe that you should make the jump once you know that you are losing money from staying at the job. I'm going to repeat that. When you know that you're losing money from working, when you got to go to work, and now because you're going to work, you're making less money than you would had you not gone to work. That's when it's time to jump. Now, obviously, there's other factors. You should have some money saved up, for a rainy day, things of that nature. So I left maybe about 4 months before the first ice cream rollery store opened.
Okay.
And so I was building up the whole process while I was still working a 9 to 5, working full time at Children's. So absolutely, anybody out there who has a business that they've started and they're thinking of what should they do? Should they quit now? The answer is probably no. Keep utilizing it for as long as you possibly can.
Exactly.
As long as you possibly can.
Okay. So what are some of the key challenges you had to overcome in either business? So if the stock trading, being that you just recently started that, ice cream rollery, or the photography business?
The biggest challenge. So with ice cream rollery, over the span of 5 years, I had over 200 employees.
Wow. That's a huge accomplishment, man.
Yes. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Especially, 2 locations, hiring over 200 people. Definitely help the community.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Young teenagers looking for work, stuff like that.
Yep, young teenagers. So very, very blessed to be able to give. Out of that 200, probably about 170 of them it was their first job. Wow. And so
nice.
I got to from the time. Hey, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. From the time we opened, I got to see some people go from being a junior in high school to seeing some of them get their master's degree in college.
Wow.
So that was a blessing, So those, especially the people who were with us when we first opened, I feel like they're family. They kind of went through the craziness with me. So seeing that whole process and seeing them elevate themselves was dope.
Okay.
But I would definitely say that is also, on the flip side, one of the biggest challenges is having a business that is so heavily reliant on other people. Photography, I'm me. I got it. I'm him. Exactly. I'm Himothy, as they say. So I have the photography. With the stock trading, it's just me and my computer. That's all I got to rely on. But with the ice cream business, having so many employees, because I can't. And then especially when we open up the second location, well, I can't be 2 places at once. That's kind of impossible. So, building a team that you can rely on and is effective is definitely a challenge.
So I'm glad you said that. So let's talk about that for a second, right?
Okay.
A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small businesses, they always have challenges with scaling their business, right?
Okay.
Hiring more people, because you could have a good process or a solid service or a solid product, but not have the people to push the service or the product.
Right.
So what type of advice would you give, based on your experience with ice cream rollery, on how to build a solid team to truly scale your business? Because obviously you did it with opening a second location.
Yeah. So scaling the business, let's talk about this. Let's talk about money first. Okay. If you want good employees or you want a good team, you're going to have to pay them like they're a good employee or a good team.
Okay.
Nobody, especially nowadays with pay rates, people, we were in competition now with McDonald's and Chipotle and all these places around that hire the same demographic as we hire, because now they're going up to $14, $15, $16 an hour for these little kids. And we're over here like, as a small business, like, oh, y'all hurting. Right. But if you're looking to scale, you're going to need other people with you. And if you want good people, you're going to have to pay them accordingly. Okay. There's really no way out of it. Now, you have to sit down and evaluate how you'll get your best return on your investment. But if you do have a good product or you already have a good service, then the next thing to scale is you need more people to scale it with, to scale it, and paying them accordingly would definitely get you a good ways. Okay,
so you said paying them accordingly. But how can they pay them accordingly, right? So you figure people, they're starting this business, they're making money, they're probably thinking, maybe the scarcity mindset, like, if I pay more money, then I may hurt myself in the long run. So what was your thought process on that? Because I'm sure you saw this was your bottom line, your net profit. You realize, okay, now these competitors are paying more money. Right. That's going to affect your bottom line. How did you get past that thought process?
Yeah, so at the point where you need to hire other people should be at the point where you've already done everything you possibly could on your own. You've already scaled this business as far as you can on your own. And so at this point, there's obviously no other option if you do want to make more money than to bring other people on. So you're not bringing them in when you're like making a few bucks here and there. This is at the point where I'm making bread, but if I need more, I'm gonna need somebody else. So So you'd have to be at that point already. And
Right.
so at that point, you already know that your business is very is very good. You know, it's very effective.
Okay.
And so from there, it can only go up, you know, if you're bringing other people on.
Right. Well, one thing I do want to say, man, and I said this earlier, but I want to say it again officially. I respect you and commend you, man, for taking a thought from on vacation that you saw this opportunity, brought it back home, and built it from the ground up, man. I thought it was a franchise for the longest, but to know, to see it standing, the building, the employees, the setup on the inside, the process, everything, to know that you watched it, you got the sign from God and decided to develop and implement yourself. That's huge, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely
Appreciate it. Yeah, a lot of people, because I obviously took the pictures because I'm a photographer. I took the pictures for the menu and stuff. So people come in and like, oh, I thought this was a franchise. Like, no, little old me, little old me. So
that's cool, man. Seriously. Yep. So in terms of the competition, what sets you apart from your competitors, right? Because I know you mentioned that there were other or similar companies trying to take the concept or, reintroduce or mimic the concept or whatever in both ice cream rollery, photography, because there are photographers out there doing what you do. There are other stock traders out there. What sets Rashad apart? Because I can't remember the name of all of the business. Ice cream rollery just stands out more, obviously. But all of those, what separates you and what you do from your competitors?
Yeah, so well, the biggest thing that's always going to separate you versus your competitors is you, because there is no other you,
right?
And nobody can do what you do, and you have to make sure that your brand for your businesses displays what you can do, and it displays you because they can't copy that. That's the one and only thing that they cannot copy.
That's true.
All right, and so I'll start with ice cream rollery. So with ice cream rollery, one was our menu. We made our menu a little different than probably any ice cream parlor maybe in the world. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, when we added on the lobster roast to it, that definitely separated us. We tried to definitely separate ourselves as far as customer service. So anybody who's ever gone to a road ice cream parlor and seen what they do, it's a show. And so with that, I tried to always hire showmen. Because I need you to put on a show. I don't care if you're flipping the scrapers. We would write the kids' names in the ice cream with chocolate syrup and all that stuff. We did everything we could to put on a show. And, we had competitors around us that we had more and more competitors pop up. And people would come from, there was another one that opened in Pickerington. That was maybe less than 10 minutes from our location. Okay. And we would literally have people come from Pickerington to come to us because the experience that they received at the other one was lackluster. Anybody can just scrape up the ice cream, here you go. Exactly. But if we going to put on a show for you, them kids is going to, Mommy, let's go to that place. Yeah, come on over here. Come on over here. So, it's funny because one of our competitors, actually our biggest competitor, I'm not going to say their name, but in 2020, so I actually have to rewind. So when we first opened in 2018, this specific competitor actually tried to get us shut down. They actually wrote letters to the health department saying that we were using equipment that should not be certified and that et cetera, et cetera. Wow. So we got visits from the health department, questioned us on a lot of things. And I actually seen the letter that they wrote wanting to get us shut down. Okay. That's 2018. I'm going to tell you the story, but I'm going to say this. My mama always taught me you never burn a bridge because you never know when you'll need somebody.
Exactly.
Okay. So with that being said, in 2018, they wrote this letter. Fast forward 2 years later, I get an email and a phone call from these exact same people wanting me to buy their business.
Wow. How the tables turn.
How the tables turn. Now you need me. The same guy you tried to do dirty, now you need me. And you want me to help. You want me to save you from this because it's not going well over there.
Exactly.
I'm good.
So was it like the same concept, the road ice cream?
It's the exact same.
Wow.
Exact same.
Because I know when I heard about your business, that's the first time I had ever heard of road ice cream. Right?
Yeah, it's fairly new in the U.S. I mean, it just came over. It hasn't been over here for 10 years, so it's in the U.S. altogether. It's fairly new. Okay. The concept comes from Thailand. Okay. So, yep.
Gotcha. So, what are some of the key challenges you had to overcome in any of the businesses, and how did you overcome them?
So with ice cream roller is definitely the concept was so new here that, I mean, just getting open, like dealing with the health department was rough because they're like, we never heard of this. How can we certify you guys? You guys are using what equipment? We've never heard of this. So that was tough. There was a lot of downfalls from that, just as far as even just getting the building that we were in. The building that we ended up being in was actually our second option. The first one we got screwed by the landlords because we were taking so long because the health department wouldn't certify us, so they say I'm giving it to like a Pizza Hut or something like that. So that was definitely a journey.
Right.
So that's ice cream rollery. So photography struggles. I'm trying to think of one for photography. Man, the photography ball has been going for so long. Like I said, that's my baby. So it's like rolling down an avalanche. That ball just keeps getting bigger because that momentum is already there for that business. But I would say, I guess when we first started, because we were on the lower end as far as price scale, that's the type of customer that you attract when you are charging those prices. And so because of the world we live in now where everybody has a camera, typically they have it right in their pocket. It's a camera, right? The value of photographers seem to be much lower. And so if you were pricing yourself accordingly with those people that had that type of mindset, it's like, oh, this person charges $10 less, so I'm gonna go there. So then you're just you're battling for the lowest price, which is a losing game, right? And so revamping my brand so that now we're a luxury photographers, and now we appeal to luxury people with luxury pockets, was definitely a strategy that we utilize. You know, of course, with whoever your business is, of course, you need to have the product and the service that matches those luxury prices, which we do. I believe now we have the most 5-star ratings of any photographer in the state of Ohio now, I do believe.
That was a smart pivot for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, for sure.
So give me a success story, like that one that really stands out in your mind, no matter what you do. When someone asks you that question, if they have, that you're like, man, I can never forget this one time when this happened.
Yeah, that's probably with my options trading, man. Just going from not knowing anything about it to it being my primary source of income, like bigger than, like I said, Ice Cream Roller was $1 million brand. And so for the options trading in such a short time frame, that was 2020 that I learned it. Now it's 2023. It's my primary source of income. I bring in multiple 6 figures with it. That's probably one of my biggest success stories. I mean, there were so many hurdles with Ice Cream Rollery, but the stock trading just because of the quickness, with it, and being able to make money at any time. If I need money for something, I'm going to the stock market for it. And that's just what it is. So that's definitely my biggest flex there.
So let's talk about stock trading, right? So you started the business when?
Well, I started options trading in 2020. But I started teaching people how to do so just a few months ago, in August of 2023.
Okay, so far, being new to this, obviously, I have my challenges as well. Just starting the podcast, only 8 episodes in.
Okay.
But what are some of your challenges? With going down this path of, as an entrepreneur, you're already seasoned in photography, you're already seasoned in ice cream rollery, and you're seasoned in terms of investing in making your own investments. But now you're teaching others how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? You've been into it for a few months. People want to establish the trust and stuff like that. How's that working out for you?
It's working out good. I have an online course. It's called Trade to Freedom.
Okay.
And then we also have the Trade to Freedom community, where people are able to follow my trades. I post my trades in real time in this community. So if you do want to make money doing the exact same trades that I'm doing, making money, then you have that option. So that has worked out great. I'll say the biggest hurdle for that is online. There's so many people have built online presences, and sometimes there are people out there that are not really doing what they say they're doing, or they're making money that they're not really say they're making. So you kind of have to try to separate yourself from these gurus,
Right.
that claim that they're doing things that they're not. You know, no, I made $1 million yesterday. Like, all right, you know. So that's probably the biggest one, is separating myself from them and showing people, no, this is really, you know, one thing I want. My whole thing with that is getting people from a 9 to 5 to be able to get unlimited freedom. You know, unlimited freedom. In order to do that, you need to not rely on a 9 to 5.
All right. So the unlimited freedom, is that your brand?
So yeah, it's my clothing brand, and I really just made this to go along with the course. This isn't for sale yet, but I mean, if you want to buy it, I'll make it for sale. But
I like the shirt, by the way.
I appreciate you, man. Yeah. Anybody who's interested in the course and the community, though, if you go to moneytalkrashad.com, click on Trade of Freedom, you know, come on and learn a new skill set that could pay you for a very, very long time.
Nice. So what about if people are like, I don't know, because I tried stock trading before, I invested in someone else, didn't get my money's worth, and they're hesitant to invest with you.
Gotcha.
So what are you doing to kind of, you know, I guess, kind of curb that curiosity in terms of if they should invest or not, or that hesitation?
Yeah. So my biggest goal with this is, by the time I die, I want to create 100 millionaires.
Okay.
I want to help create 100 millionaires. And so when I first launched the course, I was actually selling it for $2,500. Okay. And now, I mean, it's worth 20 times more than that. But I do realize that is a big investment for a lot of people. So what I have done, I do have a pretty big sale that's going on right now, where I just dropped it to just $75 per month.
Okay.
Per month, and you can cancel at any time. So your biggest loss, if it didn't work out for you, could be $75.
Right.
But you know, I don't make any guarantees, but I'm willing to bet that it'll be a wise investment for you. So I lowered that threshold down to that $75 per month, and from that, I seen a lot of people that were already on the email list that were already interested. They snatched that up because you don't have much to lose. Like I said, I do very well with this, and I want to share it. By the time I die, I want to create 100 millionaires, and I do think that trading options and the way that I trade options could make a lot of millionaires.
Okay. So this formula that you use for yourself, you teach other people that same process.
Same process.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as far as staying up to date on trends, right, on options trading and photography, how do you stay up to date? Do you take like continuing education courses? Is it YouTube videos? How do you stay up to date on all of that?
Well, I mean, YouTube. Look, YouTube University is the best by far school in the world, and the fact that it's free 99. Right. You know, everybody should. I mean, that's how I learned photography was YouTube University.
Okay.
That's how I started learning options trading, was YouTube University.
Okay.
You know, so if you're not utilizing YouTube University in 2023, I don't know what to. Come on, come on. Right. So yeah, YouTube is great. You know, and just doing your own research. There's so many things out now with everything's online. Like if you can't find information, something's not right.
Right.
So yeah, YouTube University is the best thing ever.
Okay. So what's some advice you would give to the aspiring entrepreneurs, the people that are looking to create something from the ground up like you did with Ice Cream Rollery, the person who has the camera that they're ready to knock the dust off of and actually get into photography, the person that's like, you know, I've been talking about stock trading for a while and I want to start teaching people, well, first learning themselves and then teaching people. What advice would you give them?
Talk to either God or yourself.
Okay.
Don't focus on others' opinions. Because if he gave you that thought, if he gave you that message, then it was meant for you to hear, and others are not going to understand it. You can get very discouraged by talking to others about a message that God only gave you. If God gave it to both of you, well, then it'll work out. But so many people could be right on the verge of greatness, but be pushed down by people that don't mean any harm at all. Jay-Z said once in a line, he said, they always said I never sell 1,000,000 records. When I sold 1,000,000 records like 1,000,000 times. In the interview, he said that was actually his favorite uncle who told him that. It was his favorite uncle who was trying to be a rapper. It wasn't working out well for him. So when Jay-Z, as a little youngin', said, "Hey, I want to do this," his uncle went, "Boy, you ain't gonna never be a successful rapper. I've tried it. It's too hard, man. You might want to try something else." And now we all know who Jay-Z is today.
Exactly.
Right? So that message may have just been for Jay-Z and not his uncle, clearly.
Right. So what about the fear? Because a lot of people, they're like, okay, I got the message, but how do I execute on the message?
Gotcha. At some point, you have to jump.
Okay.
Now, it should be a very calculated jump. We're not just, if you ever go skydiving, you don't just go on a plane and they say, "Go ahead, jump." Right. There's a process beforehand. There's a bunch of trainings. They put this thing on you called a parachute. They take you to an exact spot where it's safest to land. And then they give you a notification of when you should jump. They say, "Okay, go ahead. It's fine now. Go ahead."
Right.
So at some point you do have to jump, but it has to be a calculated jump. So, and and we talked earlier about people, when should they quit their 9-to-5 if they started their business? Well, that again, it's a calculated jump, and we're going to make sure that we use that 9-to-5 for as long as we possibly can.
Exactly.
And then when the instructor says, "Okay, it's clear to jump now. You got your parachute on. We're good."
Right.
Then make that jump.
Okay.
So
with everything you have going on, all the successful businesses you have, your wife that's supporting you through everything, having your back through everything, your children, how in the world do you balance keeping your wife happy, keeping your kids happy, running 3 businesses, taking care of yourself, your physical self, your mental health? How do you balance all of that?
I'm not gonna lie, man. That's something I'm still trying to master till this day. It's. So I seen an interview recently where people were talking about balance, and they said something interesting that I really do agree with. At the beginning, there's not going to be balance. In order to build something up, there has to be sacrifice at somewhere. Something has to be sacrificed.
Exactly.
And that might be time with your spouse. It might be time with your kids. Now, once you've gotten it to a point where it can live on its own, then that balance gets put back into place. But at the beginning, there's going to be sacrifices, whether it's financial, whether it's time, whether it's quality time. There's going to be sacrifice at some point. And if you're not sacrificing something, you're probably not going to be successful.
Exactly.
So at that point, you have to ask yourself a question. Well, which one do you want?
Right. You
want to be successful, or you want to have more quality time?
Right.
Because you're not going to have both at the exact same time.
Exactly.
You have to get that ball rolling down that hill so that it can accumulate and get bigger. And at some point, the momentum's going to be so great that you can back up and say, "Yep, that's going to keep rolling."
Okay.
But you have to make the initial push. And sometimes that initial push may be a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years. Who knows?
Okay, that's good. That's very valuable. So let's talk about the momentum, right? The momentum is going. You roll it down. You started with this little cube. Now you have this huge avalanche, snowball, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But when do you say that the ball is big enough, now I can scale back and put some more time on the other side?
So when that happens, that's a conversation you have to have with yourself, and then with your family, your spouse, things of that nature. And that's something I'm still. I've had several conversations with the wife. You're spending too much time on this, And my wife's not an entrepreneur, so she doesn't get it. You don't. Whew, let me breathe on that.
Yeah. I'm taking one for you.
It's when somebody's never been an entrepreneur, they have such a non-understanding of what it takes to be one. And with that, and especially when it's your spouse, where one is an entrepreneur, I'm only an entrepreneur, and the other one, is not. She doesn't fully understand of everything that it takes. Sometimes she'll ask me, "What did I do today?" And my mind goes blank because I've done 8 million different jobs. And I can't sit here and list off every single one to you. I forgot about 98% of them of what I did, you know? And so, you know, it's what level do you want to be at, and how much are you willing to sacrifice for it? Mm-hmm. You know, look at like Jeff Bezos for Amazon. I mean, he was working crazy to get Amazon to where it's at now. And now he's taken somewhat of a step back. He's no longer the CEO. He's, you know, and he's living his life. But that ball he clearly had crazy momentum, exactly. You know, and so now he can step back and live his life and give his divorced wife a hell of a bunch of money and all, you know, but it took time to get to that level. So to be honest, to answer your question, I'm not sure when it is that you rebalance that life. It just depends on where you want to be, where you want your success level to be at.
Do you feel like it's fair to say setting a goal in terms of time or a financial goal, or maybe even both, would be like a good benchmark for that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, set the goal and write it down.
Right.
You know, make it clear. You know, I want to be at this. The only problem with that is there's a term for it. I can't think of the term, but it's human nature to go, you know, you're at a job, you're making $50,000 a year. You're like, this is cool, but I really want to make $100,000 a year. Mm-hmm. A few years go by and you're now making $100,000 and you go, you know what? This is cool, but I really want to make $200,000 a year.
Exactly.
Years go by, you're now making that. This is cool, right? We always, it's human nature for us humans to want more once we obtain something. Mm-hmm. Going back to lyrics, Drake said in the lyric, he said, I was wishing for some things and now I'm used to those. Mm-hmm. Go back to my first car was a Hyundai Sonata. Mm-hmm. And my first goal was, I just want a car. I don't care what it is.
Exactly.
Right? I got the car. I'm like, oh, this is cool, but I want a Dodge Charger now. Mm-hmm. I ended up getting the Dodge Charger. Mm-hmm. I was excited. Mm-hmm. After a few months, I'm like, this is cool. Now I want a Tesla. Uh-huh. Now I got a Tesla. Uh-huh. And I'm like, now I need a Lamborghini or something. You know what I mean? But we always want the next thing. And so it's a lifelong battle of
right. But, you know, I agree with you in terms of the balance, right? Mm-hmm. The one thing that I've learned, and I actually heard this from someone else, I can't remember who, but it's really about just prioritizing. Mm-hmm. So It's like, there's no balance. But once we do prioritize our family,
right,
you know, our spouse, our children, that it's all about them.
Right.
So that's something that I've tried to adapt myself. It's like, okay, when we do have that time, just know you have all of me.
Right. Exactly.
Now, there are times where I'm like picking up my phone, you know,
yeah,
and then I get the side eye and I have to put it down. But I definitely understand that.
Yes.
So is there anything else that you want to add? Anything else you want to share that we didn't get a chance to touch on, talk about, hit on?
You know, just go for it. Just go for it. Don't let anybody talk you down. If there's something you want to achieve, go for it. And if you fail, great, because you have to fail to succeed. Exactly. You cannot succeed without failure, because we learn from failure. Failure is great. Failure is a blessing. I get excited every time I fail. Right. You know. And it's crazy because I'm going to tell you this. When that first year when I was trying to learn options trading, I took a huge L. Okay. And when I say huge, I mean huge L, right?
Okay.
And at the time, it hurts. Mm-hmm. Failure is going to hurt, especially when it first happens. I'm going to tell you.
Share what the huge L was?
Oh, yeah. Okay. In one day, I lost $28,000.
Wow. So was that part of your initial investment?
Yeah.
Or was it profit?
I want to say it was. I was actually in profit at that time. Okay. But it was still $28,000 gone.
Still felt the hit
in the course of 24 hours.
Okay. Right.
Right. Uh-huh. And so, at that time, I thought the world was over. I lost somebody's half a salary in a day. Exactly. I thought the world was over. Right. You know, and I'm doing fairly well, but $28,000 is $28,000. Agreed. I'd have rather blown that on something else. You know what I mean? But in a single day, I lost $28,000, and for a time that hurt so much. Mm-hmm. But it was from that $28,000 L that I took that I developed the process that I have now that brings in several $100,000 per year, and that I'm hoping to teach thousands of people on how to do. So had I not ever taken that, had I not failed first, I may not be succeeding now. So that failure had to happen in order for me to be where I'm at. So
I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because, you know, sometimes, man, we talk about the failures, but we never actually talk about what the failure was. Yeah. And I agree with that, man, because honestly, just to share with you a little bit, I can remember failing because I didn't know how to pivot. Like I felt the pain, I experienced a challenge or some adversity, and it was like, I don't know what to do next.
Gotcha.
Fold, start over. And it was through those failures that I actually learned how to pivot.
Yeah,
because it was like, now when you get older or later on, you're like, man, I actually could have done this, or we could have done this. So no, I agree with you, man.
Yeah. Now, don't be ignorant and start failing and keep doing the same thing. That's not what I'm talking about here. Once you fail, you need to look at your situation. Like, what did I do wrong, and what can I change about this?
Exactly.
And then you're going to try that out, and you may fail again. You may fail 5, 10 more times. But over the long term, if you keep going, if you don't stop, only way you can really fail is if you stop.
Right.
If you fail and keep going, you're going to get better.
Right.
You know, it's when you're working, I always use this analogy, when you're working out, your muscle, if you want bigger muscles, they have to fail. You have to push them to a point of failure for them to grow and get stronger.
Exactly.
They're not going to grow and get stronger in their comfort zone.
Right.
Get out your comfort zone and fail.
Right.
Fail over and over and over again.
Right.
And you'll succeed in the long run.
So, man, you've built a multiple 6-figure business with the photography, $1 million business with ice cream rollery. You're into stock trading, successful with that. You've already built a community. So obviously, you're a trusted brand. You know what you're doing. You've been in the game for a while. So if people want more, how can they contact you? How can they follow you?
Website is moneytalkrashad.com. If you want to join the community, go on there, click on Trade to Freedom. The course and community is called Trade to Freedom. So feel free to come on there. You can also find me on Instagram and YouTube at Money Talk Rashad.
Okay. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on the show again, man.
Appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely. We want to thank you for joining the Let's Evolve for Tomorrow podcast, where we help aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs, as you can see, excel to the next level by inviting other aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs to the podcast to give knowledge and information on how to get to the next level. And we'll see you next time.